We're having today an Atari 2600. This one's come in to basically have the mods that are already on reinstalled a bit more professionally and all of the stuff cleaned up. So you can see behind me there's broken switches, there's wires off. It's basically in need of making better. So let's just jump in. So this is the console. You might remember it in before where we were fixing an RGB mod, and basically all of the original mod is not exactly installed ideally, and wires keep breaking for the customer and the ports just falling out. Basically they just spin freely. So the job is to reassemble this and reinstall the mod and clean everything up, as well as fix broken switches. Let's just start by removing all these wires so we can start afresh. We won't use any of these, we'll just use all enamel wire. And there's the first hurdle we'll face. Pretty much all of these pads are torn or missing. And that's this mess, all replaced for a nice new ribbon with all the traces recovered. Next, let's just get rid of this entire bundle of mess, like so. And this connector's in solid, so there's nothing to do with that one. This one's solid, but this one is completely free. There's no real way to mount this properly with screws or anything like that, so we'll just epoxy the inside of here to lock this into position. Let's also just glue this back down, and then we'll just epoxy this piece back on its own first, and once it's cured and it's not tacky, we'll build it back up. Following the guide on eTim's website for the controller port, plus following the Retro6 wiki for Joy-Cons, we can then wire up this Joy-Con port correctly. And with that all wired in, there's the wires that go around, run down, and all nice and neat. So that's the bottom board ready. The top board, the switch is all done and now fixed and in position. The S-video is now rock solid and the epoxy's gone off. So it's time to assemble this and then solder all of the outputs. And that's all of the external wires routed down, around, and set with some of the conformal coating. And now we can have these out of the way for when we're soldering when it's in case. And the last step before we put this down is to route all the wires nice and neatly out here. Connect all these up now to all of these pins, and with them all in and connected neatly. I've left a spare composite wire here in case the customer ever wants to test composite if the RGB goes wrong. And we can now close this up. So let's connect the RGB, the audio, and then this end can now go into our OSSC. Then we turn on, and there we go. That's pretty nice. You can see the benefits of RGB. You get absolutely no distortion on pixel and color change edges. There's a little bit of noise in the signal, but not a lot. Overall, that's really nice for RGB. So that's this one fully restored, nice and clean, all RGB output. I'll get this one back to the customer.